I got an email the other day. It's a doozy too. It's pretty long. I do feel for Mr. Allen though in this whole ordeal that he typed out. But at the very end he says, I apologize for asking you about this. I know you're not America's Harley mechanic. I appreciate that more than you know, Mr. Allen, because I get a lot of emails. Some of them are kind of like I'm expected to answer these. I did respond. Still looking for a response back. Basically, he's having some trouble with his twist grip sensor, making the bike. It has no go. And it was actually kind of necessary to write that much information out because, well, there's a lot of reasons why your bike might not go. Today I'm going to talk to you about a few of them. I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to explain an occurrence so that it's easy for the service staff to understand what you're talking about. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Maxwell. I'm a highly trained unprofessional right here at Harley Davidson, and on this channel I bring you guys to work with me. So if you want to learn more about Harley Davidson, you should hit the subscribe button right now. In making your bike go, your bike has to start and run, but I want to be clear that no starting and no running are two different things. See, this is no start. You know, you press the button and the starter motor does nothing. Not to be mistaken with starts but doesn't run. That's two different problems. It's in a technician head, it means you're gonna check different things based on what's happening to the bike. So it's very important to be able to describe what's happening. But before we get too far into it, I want to be clear, this was a fuel starvation problem. See, I disconnected my fuel line. That's why my own bike wouldn't start.
But today I don't want to talk about fuel problems or electrical problems. I want to talk about mechanical issues that make your bike not want to go. Like clutches, transmissions, and belts. First up is clutches. They can either slip or drag. Clutch slipping is like when you want your bike to go and you throttle on. It should go like that. RPMs and vehicle speed both increase. If when you're trying to go, engine RPMs increase, vehicle speed pretty much stays the same, you have a clutch slipping problem. Woo, Milwaukee power! I should slow down, huh? So obviously my clutch is fine, but that doesn't mean I don't have some parts to show you.
Now, as far as the clutch slipping, generally you can smell it. You know that it's happening as soon as you pop the derby cover. But this is a clutch that I took off. I saved it for a moment like this, where we just take a look. I'm gonna remove these 6 screws in an even amount so as not to cause extra stress on this spring. This spring. They'd never go back in this easy, but once you get them all apart, what you're looking for is burnt plates, which this is the very center steel plate. It should be shiny, and it's not. That's a brand new plate and the old plate. In addition to those plates being burnt, all of this friction material that's on the plates themselves, they get thinner and thinner, and eventually there's nothing left to grab against those steel plates because they actually alternate friction, steel, on and on. The specs for what the measurement of the friction plate is found in the service manual. Year and model specific. Don't be looking at twin cam if you've got a Sportster. There are performance type clutches like this Screaming Eagle one that may have a different spec. Sometimes you measure each plate individually. Sometimes you remove all the steels, stack all the frictions, and then measure the whole stack. You're just gonna have to look it up, bro.
Now clutch drag is when you put it in gear and you just start creeping, even though the clutch lever is pulled all the way in. One good way to check to see if it's dragging or if it needs an adjustment is engine running, bike in gear, clutch lever pulled all the way in. How easy is it to just roll it backwards? Is it easy, or are you like really having to fight like it's trying to make you go? So yeah, you get the idea. generally speaking, a clutch is going to slip in every gear. Now, your clutch has to be adjusted properly. I don't want you taking your whole clutch basket apart because you haven't adjusted your clutch in like 20,000 miles, okay? Hopefully all that clutch information makes sense. So transmission is going to potentially get even more confusing if I'm not good at like explaining this whole thing. But generally a transmission problem is going to be a single gear. What I see the most common though is, or I don't even see it, I usually hear it first, a bearing. A lot of times while I'm doing a rear tire change, I'll roll that rear wheel to align the belts and everything and pump up the brakes, and I'll hear the transmission making excessive noise. Pull a drain plug, and an excessive amount of metal on the drain plug is a good indication of, you know, there's a problem. Every now and then though, there will be shifting problems or a gear popping out, you know, stuff like that. So I do have some parts to show you from a third gear that would pop out. And basically when I test rode it, you'd be cruising along in third gear only, and it would just like jerk you. I can't even like mimic the thing really, but you could hear it trying to pop out of gear. If you know what a transmission looks like, then it makes sense to know what that sound would be.
Now the reason a transmission problem would generally only affect one gear is because, well, every gear is separated. Where the clutch is controlling power into this whole thing, the transmission is only dealing with each gear at a time, even though they all touch. I have an example of third gear, which is this guy right here, third gear shift fork and the third gear dog ring. Third gear shift fork looks good on this side and is all scarred and ruined on the other side. This happens to be the side that actually holds the dog ring gear into third gear. Watch. This is really heavy, by the way. This is second gear, third gear. So it just slides that dog ring right over into third gear, and that's how that works. Two dogs engage, so as it's spinning, it just works. Where this worn out side was sitting is also worn out right here. See how much material is missing right there? See how worn out that left side is? It's not holding it even. This bike was running fine, except it would pop out of third gear. This was constantly pushing away, and the reason is because all these gears are helical cut like that. They're not straight cut like that first gear is. So the gears tend to push each other away. You know, they're trying to come apart the whole time they're rolling. It makes the transmission quieter, but it does cause a little extra wear on items where a spur gear would not. If you have a original 6-speed, you might know what fifth gear whine is. That's because fifth gear used to be spur cut instead of helical cut, and it was pretty annoying actually. I should add too though that this bike had 90,000 well, it still has 90,000 miles on it. It just happens to have some new transmission components, so it's not like this is an overnight thing that happens. It takes some miles to get up there and wear one out.
Now I've included a dry belt in this whole why my bike no go, because the dry belt can kind of fool you, because it'll feel a lot like that transmission, except it does it in every gear. And well, it's really easy for you guys to check at home. You don't have to take your bike up to the shop to see that it's missing teeth. You know, you just look at it. I got a video about it, as a matter of fact, right there. Pre-ride inspection, homie. Check it out.
This is a transmission pulley. This is a belt missing a whole lot of teeth. You'll notice that the space of missing teeth is the length of the transmission pulley. So while it's running along all these teeth and stuff and pulling the bike forward, once it gets to this spot, there's nothing for it to pull, so it kind of jerks you in this really annoying way. This one was making a pretty awful sound. It sounded internal. I was really concerned because I just been working in the primary. Unfortunately, he didn't tell me that he had a problem though. He just told me he wanted his clutch checked out. See where this video idea came from, maybe? It just so happens though I have another belt that it's the precursor to this. This one is just ever so slightly broken. Once this guy breaks off, it puts strain on these two around it, and then those two around it, and then on until all of a sudden, bam, I got no teeth, bro. And that's why I included belts. So you can remember to check yours and potentially find a problem before it's actually a bigger problem, or at least you don't come in with explaining the wrong thing to your service writer. And now I gotta walk all the way out to the pavilion because that's where I parked earlier for that whole opening scene thing. Whew. So I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my off day. Blue skies out here. It's really hot. Probably gonna sweat to death before I make it out there. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big dirty thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you hadn't quite got your fix, there's a video popping up right here and here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
But the skies are blue. Wow.